At the end of the anime, did Mob really accept himself? It seems kind of wild to ask this question, considering the whole ending is just Mob expressing himself. He's finally able to laugh, he get the final shot. Real nice. But I don't believe that Mob has truly 100% accepted himself. Yes, he has learned to express himself, let out his emotions, but he has not yet accepted the fact that he has psychic powers. The reason for this is the scene just before Reagan's surprise party. Mob and his brother are walking down the street when suddenly they see a cat on top of a pole. Mob feels compelled to save it. He gently puts his palm on the pole, and at this point we're supposed to be wondering, is Mob going to use his powers to save the cat? The answer is no. He decides to just climb up the pole, which is pretty impressive actually. But the point of this scene is to show that Mob will not use his powers to save an animal in distress on the street, which has a lot of implications. The question is why? Why doesn't he use his powers? I can think of two reasons. The first one is because he wants to do things with his own power as a normal human. Same reason why he joined the Body Improvement Club, because he wants to do things out of his own effort, not using his powers. He wants to impress his crush, and he realizes that just because you have powers doesn't mean you're special. But the problem with that is that you can't apply that line of thinking when it comes to saving lives. If you have the power to save somebody with zero downsides, and instead go for the other route and put yourself and the subject at risk, you're not making a morally good decision. It's kind of like the trolley problem, but there's no one on the second track. You can just pull the lever. The only downside is that when you pull the lever, you lose your clothes and you're naked. Which sucks, but it's worth it. I mean, you get to save the guy, right? But instead, Mob decides to jump in front of the train to stop it. Which is insane. I mean, yeah, you saved the guy, but you're dead. Why? Just pull the lever. Mob has that power to save the cat for free, but he doesn't use it for his own selfish reasons. It's not really fair to call it selfish. We know that he's traumatized by his past, so, Now you could say that in this case, he doesn't need to use his powers. He can just climb up the pole. But that's an unnecessary risk. Mob and the cat can both fall. And I know what you're gonna say. If Mob falls, he can just put a barrier on himself and not get hurt. But then why not use his powers in the first place? Why use it as a crutch? In that case, he's just doing it for his own pride. Second thing is that it's a cat. It doesn't need to be saved. Yeah, you're right. But Mob doesn't know that. In his mind, the cat needed to be saved, which is why he climbed the pole in the first place. So in the end, it's unnecessary and selfish to climb the pole. Now, the second reason as to why Mob won't use his powers here is because he doesn't want people to see him using them. Not because the public needs to not know about psychics. I mean, during the whole show, no one cares about getting found out anyways. No, Mob wants to keep it a secret because he wants to be judged as a normal person, not a psychic. He doesn't want to get credit for his psychic powers that weren't a result of his own efforts. And this is a great mentality for the self-development of Mob's humanity. The issue is that he takes it way too far and applies this to everything. I thought this was Mob's main issue, his main character flaw coming into the final arc. He already has friends that support him, he constantly works to improve himself, but he's developed his empathy quite a bit, looking at the Dimple arc and Season 2 with the red hair guy, I think. But he still rejects his psychic powers as well as his emotions, because his emotions are closely tied to his trauma of hurting Ritsu with his psychic powers. When his emotions go wild, his powers go wild, and he hurts people. That's why he suppresses his feelings. Mob is afraid of his powers. And I thought this was the reason he got hit by the car when saving the boy. If you remember that scene, it actually starts with Mob saving a cat from a car using his powers. Or was it a truck? I don't remember. But with the boy, He doesn't use his powers. There are two ways you can look at this, because right before Mob saves the boy, there's a long slow motion sequence, which means either Mob had enough time to think about saving the boy, or it was by pure instinct. I think it was by pure instinct, but either way, it's still the same explanation. Mob saved the cat with his powers because he was able to keep it a secret. No one noticed. Whereas with the boy, he couldn't possibly keep it a secret. Everyone was looking at the boy. It was too blatant. Which means that Mob would rather sacrifice himself to save someone else than use his powers in public. And that's not good. Again, the trolley problem. He has the power to save everyone at the cost of only being exposed, which is a small price to pay for salvation. He's so traumatized by his past that his instincts tell him to not use his powers. Or he had a short think and thought it would be better to just die. I prefer the first explanation, because the second one is way too dark for Mob Psycho. Anyway, I thought that Mob getting hit was the punishment for suppressing his feelings and rejecting his powers. I thought that eventually he's going to be in a situation where the refusal of using his powers will end up hurting someone. Exactly what happens here. His instinct is to not use his powers, but because he has to make a split-second decision, he ends up following his instincts, which are mistaken, and in the end, someone gets hurt. The lesson to be learned here, after, Mob gets hit and goes wild and stuff, is that Mob should not reject his psychic powers. They were given to him by God, and he should learn to live with it. Do your best to use your powers for good. He doesn't have to be a superhero, but, when he's passing by and someone's in trouble, he should do his best to help them, using his powers, especially if they're going to get hurt or die. Now, in the epilogue, we don't actually get to see if Mob has learned his lesson. He's definitely learned to accept his emotions, as we can see in the birthday party, but when it comes to his psychic powers, the only scene we have is the cat rescue scene, which is vague. Like, is he still stuck in his old ways of being afraid of his powers? Is he scared to use his powers in public when people are watching and judging? I mean, we do get the scene in Reagan's party when the cake falls and someone levitates it, but there's like 10 psychics in the room, so we don't know for sure. But if we assume Mob is the one levitating it, then it might mean that he's willing to use his powers if needed. But then again, the party was such a low pressure, low risk situation, so I'm really just grasping at some straws here. Or maybe the show is trying to tell us, with the cat rescue scene, that not everyone needs to be saved, since the cat just jumps off anyway. So just because Mob has his godlike powers, doesn't mean he has to act like God and save everyone. Let nature run its course. But that's a little dark, Is that a shonen theme? I don't think that's a shonen theme. Or maybe, once he's accepted his emotions, he can, I don't know, 100% he's exploded. I have no idea, okay? My question still remains. In the end, did Mob really accept himself? Does he accept his powers? I have no idea. I think, yeah, I think that was the intent. But, yeah, they probably just didn't think to show it in detail. If they just cut the black after Mob's confession scene, this video wouldn't even be a thing. This is probably a pretty pointless video. My bad, guys. My bad. Actually, you know what? The car crash scene, it was pretty good. Although the cat scene, in the epilogue, they ruined it. I don't know, man. Thanks for watching.